Welcome to Off the Record with Ali. This is the second episode. So glad to be here with you. Got such a dynamic guest joining me for this episode as we continue to talk about pivots and how they affect our day-to-day lives and how change is inevitably going to come, but how are we going to handle it? Ali Braswell here. Always glad to join you on Off the Record episode 2. Can't believe that we're actually doing this thing. This is awesome. So glad to be here with you, and I'm excited. So I'm going to jump right in and tell you about our guest as we today talk about pivots and pay cuts. Now, many times pivots come at us and we're not really ready for them, especially when they're talking about messing with our income, our dollars that are coming in that run our households, run our families. But I want to talk to you about a young lady who took this pivot in stride and is coming up on the other side. I'm going to tell you about someone that after more than 10 years of service, Janina left a very stable job in a large, complex Fortune 500 healthcare company to pursue her postgraduate management degree in a fellowship program. That was a difficult choice, and it required amazing courage, wise counsel, and commitment to seek an environment welcoming of transferable talents into executive spaces. With that type of executive leadership program culminating into what now she's going to share, I believe, a little bit about a group called Hogan's Heroes. I can't wait to hear more about that. That was my favorite show, so I'm dating myself a little bit there. But, I want to see this version of Hogan's Heroes. So joining Off the Record to highlight the triumph over trauma, tips before leaving a role, and transferable talents before she walks through her next open door. Please join me in welcoming Miss Janina Hogans to Off the Record.
Thank you so much, Ali. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning, good afternoon, folks, wherever you are listening to me from, whether that be in Uganda, where we were number 2. So glad you tuned back in, keep the streams going. But Janina, welcome. I know we're catching you in your busy schedule, but I'm so excited to learn more, and I know that our listeners are excited to learn more about your journey. So let's just start with your journey. Would you share a little bit about who you are and your journey?
Yes. So again, thank you for having me on your wonderful show. It's great that we've done work together, and I am a fan as I continue to cheer all your endeavors from afar. So in regards to my journey, I was an early careerist at a large healthcare institution. And next thing you know, I bought into this great idea that you can go from frontline worker within one organization all the way to C-suite executive. And my, oh my, did I learn a little bit more. So I reached as far as I could. And then I would consider somewhat of a ceiling, somewhat of a barrier. And that's okay. It was just an opportunity to pivot in my experience. So that's what brings me with you here today.
And folks, let me brag on her a little bit, okay? Because she was in one of the top Fortune 500 healthcare companies, okay? Now, y'all go figure it out. Go out there and go to LinkedIn and check her out, and you'll know even more about it. I'm not dropping any names unless they want to sponsor the show. They want to sponsor the show. Be glad to have you on here. We'll drop that name. But in her position, she wasn't just tracking well. She was doing well. She had 10 years. She was one of the largest public health departments. She was the boss. She ran the show. And I just want to shout out to my AKA Divine Nine Sisters out there. She's representing well. She's representing well because it's so important to me that people see the dynamics of what the Divine Nine organizations and individuals like yourself, Janina, what they're doing. So what was your original plan for growth within the organization that you were engaged with?
So my original plan was to start in an entry-level role and then work my way up through succession management roles. So what that looked like for me was to go from an entry level to I ended up helping more so on a general team as an analyst. So I helped with tech. And then from there, in the tech space, our organization at the time was going through many changes. So that included the conversion of over 7,000 different appointment types from one system to another system. And so then through that, there was an opportunity for growth, but there was also a lot of changes. And so I experienced, within a 5-year time span, I experienced 4 different managers. And so that was a lot. And so my final role then at that organization was serving as a clinical operations program manager. And so that pivot was needed because after having so many changes in which you get to know an individual, they see your transferable and leadership skills. You may progress in a different role title and expansion of duties, but it also ways where you're thinking what's next. And for me, my what's next was to transition into more responsibilities and then really serve in a unique space. Now, I never imagined, Allie, that during this journey, I would be kind of welcomed into a new space where I would be having dual roles. So what that looked like for me was about work hours between 60 and 80 a week.
Wow.
And so it was
You didn't say 6 to 8. You said 60 to 80 hours in a week.
yes, because excited about the opportunity, and also wanting to do justice to both roles. So that took its toll rather quickly, and I learned how to pivot. And one of those skills is just that any listener can take and use with them is consider the meetings that you're a part of. Consider if you alone are the owner of the information that needs to be presented, or are there others? And could that be an opportunity to help uplift others on their own career journeys?
Wow. See, folks, when you go out there and you check, and I know you're gonna go, everybody's gonna go straight to LinkedIn now because they're like, okay, I got to know more about Janina Hogans, and you do need to know that. So you'll probably go over and say, well, how do they know each other? So when you make that intersect, you know that we met while she was doing some of that work around what would become a part of her second duty. And a lot of times that's what happens is we have our job and then we have the other job.
Yeah.
And the check does not go up, right? But the expectation is huge that we perform in both of them. And I feel that because, remembering our interaction together when we were together at an institution, and okay, now y'all probably have figured it out by now, but we're still not going to drop that name. But we did this interaction, and, with the beauty of technology, we were able to see each other and grow a, a connection, an acquaintance, a friendship into doing great things and making a difference. But you heard me talk about in episode 1, everyone, when I said that whisper comes, that thought, that interaction that says, you know what, this door might be closing. So now, and you talked about some of the setbacks of multiple changes in leaders and not really understanding your skill set. How did you process that setback and say, let me listen to this quiet yet still voice that says it might be time to move?
Yeah, so for me, I'm always one who takes in feedback. And so after applying for kind of a different role, I was given the feedback in regards to a need to enhance executive presence. And so I said, oh, thank you for sharing that feedback. What does that look like to you? And silence. Allie, it's a myth. It's subjective. Does that
It
mean that
is.
I stare you down in a camera or in a meeting? Does it mean that I sit a certain way, or that my hair is up, or that it's down, or that I have certain jewelry? I mean, what is executive presence? Because if people are willing to voluntarily follow you, that's gold.
Yes.
Can the other skills that maybe you thought I might have not had at that time, could not those skills not be taught? So that was a key opener for me to reevaluate my own worth. And Ali, I see you have done a fantastic job just branching from one organization to then starting your own. And I am so excited because I see you recognizing, yes, I am of great value. These are transferable skills, and watch me grow.
Thank you so much for that because that was my pivot. In August of 23, everybody's like, "Well, you got the three initial title, senior VP. You're in financial institutions." And what's so amazing is others call and say, "So what are you doing now?" Because every time I turn around, you're doing something different. I said, "Well, what? I'm not one dimensional. I'm multidimensional. I got incredible talents that this is the season that I'm in, right? And this is the season that with off the record, these are these conversations though that I hope and I hope y'all are listening and taking notes, folks, because she had dropped two nuggets. She's dropped two golden nuggets already. We're gonna come back and do a test at the end, see if y'all were listening. But she has dropped two nuggets already about how she got to where she is now in this shift that you're just completing, and let's give it all the accolades that it deserves, folks. She is now finishing her degree in. I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
No, in policy management. So yes, I'm with the National Urban Fellows at Georgetown University, and so I found another organization to help pay for my master's and then also provide a fellowship. Now, mind you, Ali, in pursuit of these different like career goals, I was really encouraged that within the wonderful organization, I could get a degree, and then that's all I needed to get that next managerial role. Um, and so I did try within the organization to do just that. I got my degree, I went and applied, and the outcome was a bit different than expected.
And that's
And
that's what this pivot now, folks. That's important to hear because listen to what she did, please.
yes. So um, the difference was I never considered at that time that there are plenty of other fellowships at other great institutions. Your skills are transferable. You have the ability to use wise counsel and then create the lane that fits your skill set. So here, I'm able to do that. I had a great fellowship at another wonderful public health institution. I got to learn a little more about government, and that's really what I was seeking, Ali. I was seeking an opportunity to merge. As you mentioned, we're not one dimensional. So I needed an opportunity to merge not only skill sets, strategic planning and operations, but then also uh, our community. I believed in our social determinants of health and the need to improve the statistics and outcomes for others. So that's getting into the little nitty gritty, but I you can't take healthcare out of it from my specific personality. So you
Well, you
can't
know
take
what? We're going
healthcare
we're
out
going
of
to
me.
delve even deeper because here comes the off the record conversation. Now, what was that internal conversation to say, I'm going to go from salary to living in a fellowship program on a stipend? What was that conversation like, Janina? Did you go,
That
and you lost it, or
Yes, I'd like to say there's a book for pivots. I'd like to consider that I took a different approach. Instead of a telescopic lens approach, I really looked at the mirror. And it was a challenge to say, what are you willing to do, or far are you willing to stretch to achieve your own goals? And that looked scary. It looked unconventional to some. It definitely required some budgeting and forward planning. But in fact, I don't know that you can out budget the future. Nobody can predict that, right? But what I found, Ali, is something I heard about in your other podcast. You're finding enjoyment in different revenue streams that you may not have considered. And that's definitely something I relate with, and also know that others may find that as well.
And that's so important because people will count your money before you count your money, if you know what I mean. And they're like, wait a minute, you going back to school to do what? And that- it doesn't compute for them, right?
Right.
Because particularly if they're looking up to you and go, hold up, wait a minute, she going left when I thought she should be going right because I was tracking with her on right? You know,
Yes.
but so first of all, congratulations
Thank
on your new degree. And folks, look at it. Look at the title now. She's carrying two masters. All right. I'm just saying, this is a bad young lady right here. And the thing about it is she got her foundation set. Then she made some informed decisions. She didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm just going to leave and go do this. One of the things we have to learn to do is to stay through the challenge sometimes. See it through the challenge so that you can make cool, clear, calm, level headed decisions. It's not a knee jerk reaction, it is a decision that then you have to see it through. Now I'm sounding kind of pastoral, and you'll be used to this probably because I know your father is a minister. Hello there,
you.
Reverend Hogans, wherever you are listening to this. Just want to give you a shout out too up there in Pennsylvania. But one of the things that is my foundation and my grounding is to be able to look at my faith and say, will I have faith enough to see this through? Will I, when it gets tough and you looking at it going, man, I should have stayed at that job. Well, what changed at the job that would have made me stay? Something changed to make me have the quiet voice go off and say, well, you need to go do your own thing. And so many times we'll rethink that. But if for someone who's listening right now, Janina, what would you say to them those who may be at their crossroads, who may now be hearing those quiet, silent voices? And do I take that pivot and potential pay cut in order to achieve my dreams? What golden nugget? Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all the heads up. Here comes golden nugget number 4. Okay.
So I would say first, take evaluation in a 3 to 6 month plan. Consider where your strongest skill sets are based off of feedback received or something internal. And then also, as a person of faith, I pray,
Yes.
actually, and seek wisdom and hearing an answer, and then following that with actions in the direction I feel I'm being led. And so then you strategically look for those opportunities and go towards the door that is most open. Um, and it may be unexpected and it may be unconventional, but going through that door, it really is a journey that you can partake with those in your circle, and especially you can take with um, your faith or whoever you may call as savior.
So
So
faith is important, people. You got to believe. You got to believe in something bigger than you, but you got to believe in you. You are the only you get. Okay. Last time I checked, there's not a drop it off over here, recycle and pick up a new you. Keep investing into you, and then look and see, because as you travel your journey in life, or as I have, I found out who would have thought I'd be sitting here talking on a camera, recording and doing a podcast. That was not in my, as the Marine Corps would say, brain housing group. That was not what I was thinking. By now, I would have been in way too long in the Marine Corps. I'd be out. But I was thinking officer, flying jets and hanging out. But you know what? Because I was able to listen to my internal skill sets and see what was being developed in me and what has been given to me, and when I can turn them on, those are the things that have allowed me to move ahead. Like when I wrote the book Engage, Invest, Grow, all about building relationships. Guess what, folks? This is another relationship. The catalyst just happened to happen at this organization. And I've been so blessed to hear that you followed me through all of my craziness. So my journey would look like a labyrinth, folks. That's the maze out there in the middle of the field where I'm going this way, and I think the greatest thing I did was read that book called "Who Moved My Cheese." So I keep scurrying to go find more cheese.
yes.
But
um
the one thing I want to ask, please go ahead and share if you have something before I ask this next question. But that
Yeah,
cheese is really important when you're talking about doors closing and doors opening.
yeah, and that's the thing, Ali. If you think about it, considering the history in the United States, and I know some of our viewers may not originally be from the United States. I too am a mother, or I too am a daughter of one who was born outside of the United States, and then has naturalized. So nonetheless, um, our journeys are unique, but they're more in a different fashion, because we are the dreams that our parents or our forebears have had for us. We followed the advice. We went and provided services, you with the Marines and in other ventures, right? And it's
Yes.
in different lanes in different ways. But then we go and we think some may select large corporations, they may select nonprofits, they may select government, and to really entrust all your gifts and talents to a third entity, right? And I think I've read before that while titles, are given, it's really your character that has been carrying you through this labyrinth. And so what some may feel as a sidestep, a labyrinth, no, that is your unique divine plan and journey. And that's what I am so grateful for. The other practical tips include, like, make sure when you're going through this transition that you really let it be a transition. So if you're leaving from one space to another, um, consider your family and your budget, and consider, is it the best move for you to go ahead and sever ties, and that would mean lose whatever benefits immediately, um, after your 3 to 6 month plan, or do you have time reserved in the bank because you've been working there for a very long time? And maybe it would be wise to go ahead and slowly, like, use your PTO overtime or whatever source of payment, your those sick leave um, or other leave may come from. But use that time, extend it, retain your benefits as you're transitioning. You're still getting paid from one organization as you're transitioning into another. You're able to um, be kind to yourself. Every organization has its own culture. So, and so then be kind to yourself as you look to listen first and really observe, and then selectively choose what you're going to lean into. And that's
Wow.
kind of what the journey that I'm on now, that selective choice.
So, folks, did y'all hear that? I want to make sure that they heard that that was the roadmap. I call it the on-ramp to entrepreneurship. You got to pay the bills. See, I'm not a more practical dude. Pay the bills while you build the dream. And I love that. I'm gonna borrow that. I'm gonna borrow that phrasing that you use. That you have put monies away so that you can buy time to do what you want to do. And a lot of people say, "Well, Ali, are you retired?" I was like, "Well, retirement, yes, I'm corporately retired, but retirement for me means I get to do what I want to do, and I don't have to show up and punch anybody's clock. I get to, today if I want to go hang out, like I shared with them in the last episode, Janina, I was like, I went out and drove Uber, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Why would you do that?" I was like, you know what? I didn't know why I would do it, but I did it, and it's cool. Now I'm kind of like a Uber junkie. I don't know. I gotta go. It's peak time somewhere. I gotta go drive
Yeah.
somebody around. But here's what's happened. I've met some incredible people, just driving them around, giving them a lift throughout the city of Jacksonville and making a difference. But I love the way you phrased that when you said, if you put away funds so that you can buy the time to go and follow your dream and do what you want to do, what an investment in yourself. And I think that investment has now come full circle for you, because tell us about Hogan's Heroes.
Yes, so Hogan's Heroes is an opportunity for me to then consult. Again, you learn about these transferable skills, whether they be in administration, strategic planning, or operations in my case. And so then you're welcome to different organizations, and you're able to guide that journey as the owner of your own fate. I think that's what's most exciting to me, is that I was once entering environments trying to match others' energy. Meanwhile, I had my own that I was bringing, and I am so happy and glad to stand in that. And that's what I bring to others now. So thank you again with Hogan's Heroes. Yeah, one of the other things that I learned is that consider those who you've enjoyed working with. What does that look like for you guys? And those are some of the areas where I found the most joy in mutual reward. Um, Ali, you mentioned mentoring. You know, who are you considering to succeed you, or what does that look like in an earlier time? And that's kind of how I see the opportunity of consulting. Like you mentioned, that we are not put in a silo in a random remote island. We are in communities. We have,
Yes.
communities of influence. And so how do your gifts and talents maybe lend to benefit someone else? And that is rewarding. So I champion your Uber driving and whatever other additional hobbies and activities you may so choose. Because as you mentioned, at the root of it, you're finding individuals, you're finding community, and your natural skills and abilities are transferable, and you've taken in wise counsel so that way you can give it, and you're making the environment that you want for yourself and that you're able to provide through others through this podcast. So thank you so much,
Awesome.
Ali.
Well, as my kids would say, hey, if y'all didn't know that was nuggets, folks, that was nuggets. And here's the beauty. Even in Engage, Invest, Grow, when I talk about a relationship catalyst, you never know where it's going to come from. You never know. We didn't know when we worked together at this no such named agency or organization that we would build such a relationship that we could pick up just like we left off and continue, or you'd be able to follow someone. You never know who you're inspiring with your words and your deeds and your actions. And I think Janina will not in agreement here that I'm unapologetically Black, folks. I am so proud of who I am. I was that way in this organization where most people didn't look like me, but I brought the truth. And I love when I said, hey, I want you to come on the show. She says, well, I trust you because one thing I know about you, you're going to speak the truth.
Yes,
I think
indeed.
well, when you look at what we're going through right now in America and across the world, we're going to have to make some pivots. But we had to pivot into our positions of strength, not into positions of weakness and mire down. We don't have to be timid about standing up and believing in what we believe. We can believe in what we believe and still go out and accomplish great things. Hogan's Heroes is going to be a great example of that. So if you're looking for a strategic planner in the healthcare industry, someone who's done it by dint and worked for some of the largest in the industry, you need to pick up and go to see Hogan's Heroes. Find her on LinkedIn. Go, y'all know how to Google search better than I do. Go find her and let's pour into another person. And in this last couple of minutes, I just want to say, Janina, thank you. I celebrate you. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for believing in me. And the silver hair is real, folks. It ain't for play. But at the tender age of 63, yesterday I found out I lost one of my fraternity brothers, and was just a little younger than me, actually. And I just want to impress upon people: run with everything that you have right now. Right now, do that self check that Janina talked about, and decide, where am I going? Second, check your investment. Have you invested enough in yourself so you can pivot and go do what you want to do? Right? I'm going to bring it real, folks.
Yeah, yeah.
And, the last thing I want to say is, Georgetown has a great alum now. And I just can't imagine some of the people. I love coming back into touch with people who I have left that other organization we were with, and they go, man, I watch what you're doing. You're doing such great things. I said, yeah, but I could have done it here. I could have done it here. And you know, I've had that story repeat several times. So if I could pour into you, that's going to happen to you, and continue to do great things. I will be watching as well, Miss Janina Hogans, as she continues to go out here and do great things, folks. And if you want to know what's happening out there in the world, if you want to know what's going on, and you truly want to hear it from somebody that's going to tell you the truth, not necessarily what you want to hear, and be that real type of mentor or that coach, an executive coach, reach out to me at braswellglobal.com. Follow, share, tell others to follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can also find it over on Podbean if you use that app. But most importantly, believe in yourself. Know that you can do extraordinary things, and that you go out and believe in yourself and you pour into yourself, doors will open and opportunities will present themselves more than you know. If you're on at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays, then you're on Off the Record with Allie. Thanks so much, Janina, for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And everyone listening, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedules, whether you're listening to me via audio or you're going out to YouTube. Look, like, and follow me on YouTube on Off the Record with Allie, Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast, because there's like 27 off the records. I'm not sure if we so off the record, maybe somebody need to get on. But follow me there. Follow me on LinkedIn. Reach out. Send me an email at Off the Record with Allie, OTR with Allie at Gmail, and I'll be guaranteed to put you in touch with Janina if you need to reach out to her. Definitely going to get, if you have questions, I'm going to send them to you and we're going to post them. You can also follow us on Facebook. I think I got all the plugs in. And if you're looking to sponsor a podcast, hit me up. I'm looking to have you be a part of this so that we can grow. And I could probably get a producer in here and do things correctly. But I'm having such a blast. It's so much fun. I'll part with these words. When somebody tells you you can't, just know that you can. When the world closes a door, just know there's a greater person that's going to open it and continue to move you ahead. And make sure that you always stay in belief for yourself. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for joining us here today. It's going to be awesome. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.